Hello everyone. Today's adventure brings me back to the Green River Gamelands area where I'm going to be doing a hike to Milton Bradley Falls. This is actually a revisit video. I've been here twice before, and the last time I was here was the fall of last year. It was probably mid to late November, just as the leaves had almost fell completely. But I got lucky and there was some still just around the waterfall to get some nice shots. That video is on the channel, and I will leave a link for it in the description so you can check it out if you'd like. But the goal today is to make it to Milton Bradley, and if time allows, and depending on how the terrain and everything is, we may try to venture past it and see if we can see the next waterfall, which is Bradley Cooper Falls. There's actually two beyond that one too, which we're just going to kind of see how the day goes. But I believe this is roughly a 4-mile hike if you're just going to Milton Bradley, and the hike itself is a very diverse one, very enjoyable one. You hike along this kind of like a service road that I'm on now for about a mile, and then you'll get to an old cabin up here, which you'll veer off left at, and you'll walk for just a minute, and then you'll have to cross a creek, which is a creek that you usually cannot cross without getting your feet wet. And then after that, you hike through a meadow for a little while, and then the trail enters the woods. Last time I was here, the trail in the wooded part was blazed with pink ribbons. Someone had been kind enough to blaze the path, and I imagine since then the path on the ground is probably a little more well worn. So even if those are not there, I'm thinking we'll probably have success still being able to follow the path to it. So we're gonna get started, and I'll fill you in along the way. See you on the trail. So today's date is February the 20th, 2022. And the current temperature is about 42 degrees. I think the high today is supposed to be around 50 for this area. Right now there's almost no breeze, so my rule of thumb is on weather and hiking is typically I can handle the cold no matter how cold it is. If you add wind to it, then it's a different beast where we need different layers to keep warm. But that being said, I'm probably about halfway on the road here that you have to hike to get to where it turns off to where the creek is. And most of the time when you're hiking on a service road, you have the trees in the woods on both sides like you see on this side. And on this one you have the meadow, which the Wildlife Commission maintains, keeps it cut, and it's been logged, probably been logged a long time ago. But you do have a view of the mountains all around you on the left side. Of course it'll be on the right side when you're coming back, but very nice view along the way. Very peaceful view too, as long as you come during certain times of the year. I'm not sure what the starting and ending months of hunting season is, but this is Gamelands, as I mentioned before. So there will be people hunting out here. I've been when they were hunting before. You know, as long as you're quiet and respectful, they really won't say much to you, or you know, have an issue with you being out here. Just use some common sense and proper courtesy to not disturb them. Don't make any loud noises or anything, and you'll be good. So this is a little cabin that I mentioned earlier that we're going to make our left turn at to continue across the creek and then on to the rest of the trail. But I just wanted to show it real quick. It's an old cabin, got some vines growing on it. If you happen to come here in spring or summer, this will be covered up a lot more than it is now with vegetation. But just an old cabin. It's kind of been the same every time I come out here. Some old chicken wire in it, and just old wood, and there's an old door over there. There's also a little shed here they have and keep some of their grounds equipment under. And of course, if you keep going this road, it'll eventually connect to a trail that will lead you to Big Bradley Falls, the lower trail, which you can follow up to a certain point, and the trail becomes washed out due to a recent storm. Or not recent, it's been a few years now, but the only way you can get to Big Bradley from there is if you do a pretty intense creek walk where you'll be in and out of the water quite a bit. So there's some confusion with that online on Big Bradley. Just a lot of confusion. I have a video on that kind of explaining the recent status of it. You can also check it out if you like. But just know that the Big Bradley overlook area and the area at the base is a restricted area at this time, and will be for at least a little while. But you can check out that video for more info on that. But the next stop is a creek crossing. So I made it to the creek, and this is the part where we're going to have to cross and more than likely get our feet wet, which is unfortunate, but usually doesn't bother me. After about 5 or 10 minutes, I won't even really notice it anymore. From where you turn left at the cabin, it's probably about a quarter of a mile or so to here. You'll get to the little dirt road. Just keeps going, and it'll come to a Y, and you just go off right there, and it'll eventually take you to the creek from that point. There's a couple of different places you can cross. We may try to rock hop up here. I haven't done it that way. Usually I go down further and do it, and it's very shallow, but I'm going to kind of just make my best judgment here and see how I want to do it, and I'll let you know which route I go. So I was able to make it across right here without getting my feet wet, at least at this point so far. And this is kind of like a little island right here. So I made it across. So now I'm going to walk to the end of the island. I should be able to do the same thing here, I'm thinking, to get across the rest of the way. Yep, I'm gonna go through right through here, and then on across, climb over that log right there, and then continue on the trail. So the first part of that was, you got to be really good with your balance, but I was able to do it and then get my feet wet, so I'll take that as a win. Continuing on. So this is the meadow I mentioned earlier. I think it's been groomed or cut since the last time that I was here. The meadow itself and the inside the tree line there as well. This is a perfect view of the little surrounding mountains. Can't remember the names of all of them, but I know there's one that's Rich Mountain, I think. I'm not sure which one's which either. And then there's a Raccoon Mountain. But very scenic walk through this part. Mountains all around you. So after walking a short piece, you'll get to this old tree right here that has some vines, things growing on it. What you'll want to do is veer to the right on a pretty visible vehicle path. Veer to the right of this next tree line, and then you'll kind of hug it, and it'll lead you straight to where you're going to enter the woods at. We should be there shortly. Loving the visibility today, not a cloud in the sky. So that's the opening there where the meadow kind of ends, and the trail happens to start right here. Like someone has put a trail camera on this tree right here. It was definitely not there the last time. So not too long after you enter the woods, you can already see that the pink flags are here. I'm willing to bet that these have been replaced because they're not even faded or anything. They look pretty fresh. They appear to be a little closer together than they were too. The path is definitely there, but it is faint. So I'm actually also using the All Trails provided route to this, which I'll leave a link in the description for that as well. It will be some assistance too. Path kind of weaves in and out, and close to and away from the creek, kind of back and forth. So you'll come to this tree right here that has orange markings on this side of it and the other side too, as you'll see it as you come towards it. And you get really close to the creek here for just a minute, and eventually the little pink flags will pick back up there. The pink flags are not here the entire time. Kind of misquoted that earlier, but the parts are not there. The trail's fairly easy to follow because it's so worn now. Just keep that in mind. Some obstacles here and there to step over. So the trail leads to this twin trees right here, and there's a 4 or 5 foot step down you have to do. But after that, you see the Milton Bradley in the distance, and then you start to walk over these rocks and work your way to it. So here we go. Lighting is not necessarily the best today because the sun's right here. This is probably the earliest I've been out here. Pretty nice spot to hang out. So I almost pulled myself up over with that rope to the top, but the more I looked at the rope, the more it had kind of rubbed been rubbing on one of the ledges at the top. It was frayed really bad. When I kind of gave it a tug test, it just didn't feel very secure. So I wasn't going to try and use it to pull myself up, so I just climbed back down. And I would not recommend you use a rope that's been left out here, especially if you look at it and it just looks like it's been here for a while. It's a really bad idea. So we're going to play it safe with that, and then we're going to head back into the woods and just see if there happens to be any other way to get up and around this waterfall. All right, so I decided to pick a spot and bushwhack up the hill just to see what I see from up here. And I think I've actually picked up on what looks like an old trail. There wasn't necessarily a path to come up here that I saw, and once I got up here, I've seen yellow markers on trees. This one right up here in front of me, in the middle of the screen. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but it's the third one that I've seen marked in yellow. I'm going to follow that for a minute and see where we end up. Hopefully we'll get to see the second waterfall. The top of Milton Bradley is right down there. So here we go. So I decided to go ahead and start descending down and come right on top of this waterfall right here, which I'm thinking is probably Bradley Cooper. If it's not, then this is an unnamed one. I'm going to get on the rocks here and see how far I can make my way that way and see what's next. But I'm thinking this one has to be Bradley Cooper. And the top of Milton is right around through there. Not far at all. I mean, this is not 100 yards, I would say, between the two. Moving on. I have to say, this is a pretty fascinating area to explore. I feel like there's just going to be little surprises along the way. This is like a treasure chest. Getting ready to use that old tree to cross on to whatever's next. And it's just like a little beached area right here. Maybe a foot of water here. Haven't really met much resistance yet after leaving the woods back there, so I'm just going to keep going. Probably try to go as far as I go, as far as my comfort level will take me. So I believe the one back there we saw was an unnamed one. This one right here has to be Bradley Cooper. I'm going to get this a little bit closer. It looks like you can either continue going towards it, or you can actually go left here. I'm going to explore just a minute and then figure out what I'm going to do next. This is a pretty nice one right here. So right around the corner from Bradley Cooper Falls, this is what I believe is Marilou Bradley Falls. And it is just as impressive, but in a different way. There's 3 huge boulders right here. And a crystal clear pool at the bottom. A lot of moss on all the rocks over there where it's falling down. I'm gonna get closer in a second, but there's actually a rope up there at the top that you can pull yourself up if you're daring enough to continue to one final waterfall, which is known as Cavern Falls. Not sure that we're gonna do that, but I am gonna get a different angle, a view of this one. All that moss down there. So I've kind of made my way towards the top, not all the way there yet. Discovered this rope that has been wrapped around several times here. Pretty fancy looking knot there. I could take a guess who may have done that just by the person's comments and activity on Facebook. It kind of stretches along the bluff here and leads to a couple other ones. I want to do what I'm comfortable with, but if I start feeling any resistance or my knees start shaking, we're going to be more than satisfied with what I've seen up to this point. Got some straps here now. Made it up to the top. Looks like several mini little waterfalls going to be along the way to this next one. Wow. Getting around that was quite the adrenaline rush. Really wasn't that difficult though. A little small waterfall here. Hopefully not much further. Getting kind of tired, to be honest. Wow. Take a break here and catch my breath for a minute. Not really sure how these boards got out here or what they would have been for, but 2 old boards out here, nails drove in them. Interesting. So I've come to a Y in the creek here. There's a little waterfall right here, probably an unnamed one. And there's another one coming from this way, mostly covered up by brush and a dead tree. It is quite the mess through here, but the way the water flows is pretty phenomenal. I'm going to see what I see, how I'm going to make it up through there if I can. I'm hoping it's around this corner right here, but Not real certain. I do know, according to the map, that there's really not a whole lot of creek left on the map. It kind of ends before too far from now. So I guess we'll see. The Cavern Falls is right here, just on the other side of this giant bluff right here. I'm gonna straddle this tree to get a better view of it, but this was not far at all from where I mentioned it in the last clip. Cavern Falls. So there's some ropes attached to the tree you see hanging down there beside the falls, where someone could climb to the top if they wanted to. But that is not happening for me. You can actually kind of go in between there too, between the wall here and the waterfall. I'm not doing that either. I am more than satisfied with what I achieved today. I'm gonna rest up here and start making my way back, slowly but surely. So I'm on my way back to Marilou Bradley now. I actually just crossed paths with someone else that was almost at Cavern Falls, back that way. Only other person I've seen out here today, anywhere on the trail. And I spoke with him in just a minute. Pretty nice guy. So I'm actually going to get down here to the top of Marilou Bradley, and I'm going to wait on him. I think we're going to finish the rest of the hike. But from that point, it gets a little technical, and it's just, if it works out to where you can have somebody here with you to do this, it's just as crazy as you are. And I think it's a good idea to we just kind of approach the rest of the trek together to be on the safe side. I made it back to the top of Marilou. I made it back down what I feel like was the most trickiest part for me. Still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but I was most uncomfortable dealing with that passing at the top right there. But still got a long way to go. Alright, so I'm now back at the parking area. Since the last clip, I just kind of just took it easy on the way back and didn't film anything. And the gentleman that I crossed paths with, we just kind of hiked the rest of the way back, and we're just talking about different things. So I didn't do any filming then, but made it back safely. No bruises, none of that. I would say that's probably maybe the most hardcore hike that I've done. I've done some things that are pretty strenuous, but none, I would say, to that length. It was a lot of crawling over boulders and rocks and in and out of the water, getting your feet wet, and a lot of grabbing a hold of trees and climbing a steep bank and then descending the bank too. But did see all 4 waterfalls. That's something I've kind of wanted to do in the past, and I just didn't push myself to do it. But sometimes whenever you just push yourself to do things, you know, you'll be surprised at be surprised at what you're capable of. I will say that this is not one that I would recommend. I'm just going to say I'm not going to recommend it at all, unless this is something that you're doing quite frequently and you're just, you know you're fully capable of doing it. But you need to be 100% sure of your abilities if you attempt to hike all four of those. Now, if you're hiking just to Milton, you know, it's pretty, I would say it's pretty well for someone who just, you know, is an average hiker, or someone who just hikes occasionally. That one would be fine for that. Just make sure you got a good map for it, because whenever you get in the woods, you can get turned around in the woods. There's some ribbons in there where it's flagged, but that may not be there when you come. Who knows? But I personally wouldn't recommend this to just anyone, for sure. But as far as me, I really enjoyed it. I will say that it's one that I'm not going to do again. I may go back to Milton again, or, you know, Big Bradley the other way. But I will not do the 4 waterfall trek that I did again. That's this one I've got documented, and it's going to be checked off my list. And I'm totally glad that I did it, but it was really a lot of work. It's just not one that I'm going to do again. So I will give it a 10 out of 10 as far as what I think of the waterfalls. They were all, you know, exceeded expectations. They were all bigger in person than I thought they would be, and it was quite a bit to see along the way. Little small waterfalls that were unnamed. I tried to include most of those as I could. I don't know that I got them all, but it was really just a lot to see and do. And then you know, while trying to stay mentally sharp when climbing over all the rocks. But that's gonna do it for this one. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't. And as always, thanks for watching.